Welcome to my podcast, Through the Thick of It. My name is Erica. I'm a functional dietitian and coach, and I'm so grateful to have helped thousands of people uncover their unique health code. I'm excited to bring my wisdom and expertise to you today on this topic because it's something we've all experienced. I'm going to give you the best strategies to push through when we get stuck. Now, this can relate to any goal we have for ourselves: getting up early, exercising more consistently, eating less sugar, losing weight, reversing diabetes. You get the point. When we are stuck on those things we really want, this is when we feel like we're in the thick of it. And the good news is you're not alone and you can make it through. So before we jump in, I want to take a moment to get us all grounded here so that you can get the most traction from this episode. So start out by taking a deep breath and think of an area that you really struggle. Just to get ideas flowing, could be building relationships, nighttime snacking, sticking to a morning routine, reducing your blood pressure, or you could take it deeper with things like finding joy in your daily life or having a job you really enjoy. Now imagine you're doing that difficult thing, but you're doing it really well. You've met your goal. It's really, you feel like there's no struggle left. You feel like it's easy. I want you to sit here a moment and just enjoy how it feels to have met your goal. Maybe you notice a weight lifted off you. It's easy, you're enjoying it, you're doing it. And as you see that weight come off you, realize that that weight is the pressure you are putting on yourself. And if you'd like, picture letting go of that pressure. When that pressure is gone, you can now start from an objective place. Okay, hopefully you're feeling good. You know what it's like to have met that goal. Most of the times when we look at the things we struggle with the most, there's a lot of emotion, judgment, fear. It makes it really hard to look at it from a strategic standpoint. So, the point of that exercise was to get you focused, but also strip away that judgment. In the next few minutes, I have 5 ideas or strategies for you to try with the goal of you understanding yourself a little more and taking a meaningful step forward. So let's push through where you do get stuck the most. The first strategy I want to talk about is for when we can't seem to stick to a plan. What I'm going to suggest is you take a different approach. The Atomic Habits author James Clear writes in a recent newsletter: some things work and some things don't. There's almost always another way to get where you want to go. Don't keep trying to open a locked door. Seems so easy, right? But what I see is we push harder and harder at the same things in the same way. I'll give you an example from a patient of mine. She would continually go through the drive through, and her goal was to stop going through the drive through. Well, what happens? She ends up working late again or running behind, and she feels she's left with no choice. However, if you really take a step back, there are many choices. She could have chose to get the healthier option where she typically goes. She could have stopped at a better drive-through or a grocery store. You see, you haven't set yourself up for success if you keep trying the same thing and hoping for a different outcome. That you won't work late, that you won't be running behind. So, how about you make a plan for when you are running late? What would be the better option? What does that better option mean? You keep some fast options at home. You have the better route to take where there's a better stop and go sort of place. But you also have to make sure that the food tastes good. Otherwise, you're going to pick that fast food option every time. So think about this: when you're running late or having a long day, your cortisol is likely up, your blood sugar is likely low if you haven't eaten. Your body will be craving something to soothe, give you that energy, provide that dopamine hit. Especially if you've already created the habit, you will automatically think and want that fast food. You can apply this in all areas. It doesn't have to be just the fast food. It could be working out after work. It could be cutting back on caffeine. It could be getting to bed at a decent time. You can apply this same strategy. If it's not working, stop trying to get into that locked door and find an open one. Okay. Number two, when we can't seem to get traction on a goal, I would highly, highly suggest get support. Now, I'm the first to say I can do it myself, but it really is proven to give better results, have better results with some sort of accountability. So it's 10% more likely that you will complete a goal just by having a goal. Okay. 25% more likely by consciously deciding to do it. 40% by setting a timeline, 50% by making an actual plan, 65% by committing to someone else, whatever your goal is. And here, 95% likely if you have a weekly consistent check in with that accountability person. Now, I want to take this a step further. I like to optimize. Let's get to 99.9%. If you've heard of Gretchen Rubin, she has the four tendencies, and she talks about an upholder, a questioner, an obliger, and a rebel. These tendencies distinguish how people respond to an expectation. So we have inner expectations, outer expectations. So I'm going to quickly go through these. The upholder is someone that responds readily to like outside and inside expectations. So they're able to stick to work deadlines, New Year's resolutions, no problem. Then you have the questioner who questions all expectations. They'll meet that expectation if they think it makes sense and it meets their own inner standards. So they're following their inner expectations. The obliger will meet the outer expectations but struggle with inner expectations. These are great people for health coaches to work with. Rebels, this is me, will resist all expectations, inner and outer alike. They want to do what they want in their own way. If you ask or tell them to do something, they will resist. So you can see this slight difference can make all the difference in your chances for success when you're looking for support just by knowing a little bit more about yourself and what your tendency is. I will provide a link in the comments so you have a direct link to find out the type you are. And Gretchen Rubin has really great pages on what you can do once you find out which you are. Okay, number three. So, this is for if you're doing the work and aren't seeing the actual results. Here, maybe you are focused on the wrong thing, or your action does not line up with the results of your ultimate goal. So, you think about what factors that hold you back, maybe that you aren't seeing clearly or you aren't aware of. This is where friends or potentially an expert can help and come in. You might not really understand your body's health. You don't clearly see your current circumstances or recognize your mistaken beliefs. So, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you want to lose weight, but all you're doing is looking at calories. So, you're counting all your calories, you're making sure you're keeping them in the right range. However, you're dismissing your stress, your sleep, and those are the actual problems that are causing the weight gain. Another example, you want to get stronger and you're lifting weights, but you're not eating enough protein. Maybe your gut health isn't good and you aren't actually digesting that protein. So, what's happening here is your actions aren't lining up with the results you want. We can also look at this from the mental perspective. I'm going to give an example of a mistaken belief because this one can be very sneaky. So, let's say you've told yourself you aren't smart enough your whole life, so you don't even attempt something you think only smart people do. You might think you aren't strong enough, so you won't lift weights, or that you will always crave sweets because you always have before. None of these things are true, but you believe it in yourself and it holds you back. You don't think it's even possible to be different, so you won't overcome it. I will say that this strategy, are you focusing on the wrong things? Sometimes takes an expert like a dietitian, exercise physiologist, coach, provider, friend to help guide you and customize your approach. All right, number four, this is for you if you feel fear, negativity, doubt, shame, all of those things which keep you frozen. So here, focus on what you do have and not what you don't have. I bet if I asked you why you can't do something, you could answer me very quickly with negative commentary. But if I asked you what your strengths were to help you complete this task, it might take a bit of prodding. So, as a place to start, I suggest focusing in on an area where you are successful. Think about what traits make you successful. And then, how can you capitalize on those strengths you already have when you're in the thick of it? Some strengths to consider: hope, purpose, zest, grit, resilience. Instead of running all the negative things you're saying to yourself, all the things you aren't, all the ways you highlight that you failed, all the fear, all the shame, shift the story. I will be honest, this one takes a consistent awareness of your thoughts and it will take time, but it is well worth it. When I am being very hard on myself, I like to think that I'm talking to a friend. If my friend was in the same situation, how would I respond? It always, always is much more supportive and light than the way I'm talking to myself. In those moments, it's easier to be less critical of myself, let myself off the hook, be more gentle, and then I can shift. I encourage you to search up the character strengths and pick your top five. Write them out and have them available when you need them. I'm also going to include a link where you can go and there's really great quizzes online that can help you with those as well. Okay, on to number five. This is when your motivation is falling short. Are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to give up those hard things? While I work with all types of patients, one of the most common examples I see is this. If, let's say, at your age now, you expect to look and feel like you did when you were much younger. And I even fall into this trap sometimes. But when I look at the disconnect between goal and what's realistic, it makes it much easier to step back and say, wow, I'm not going to spend all those hours and all the energy that it takes. Maybe I did back then, but I'm not doing that now. I'm not in the same place as I was. When you ask yourself if you are willing to do what it takes, it's also okay to say no. We never have the perfect circumstances, but it doesn't make sense to jump in either if your life isn't in alignment with it. So in this situation, I would ask, what is realistic for myself now in this moment? We make 226 decisions each day on food alone. If you have to push that hard against something you're willing to do that many times, you will be exhausted at the end of each day. So that's one reason why people end up snacking at night, having wine, eating all the candy in the house, because they are just to the point of decision fatigue. Now, think about adding a second goal. So let's say you're doing diet and exercise at the same time. You will end up with an insane amount of decision fatigue. And then, we need more motivation, more willpower, and those are limited too. So, really coming back to that, is it realistic? What can I do now? When it seems like you aren't willing, scale it back to something you know you can do. So, think to yourself, what super small thing can I start with? If you want to start a walking routine, just put your shoes on. If you want to meditate in the morning, just have an area set up or meditate on your bed for 1 minute. That seems way easier than the full walk or the 20 minutes of meditation. So I encourage you to apply this to something you've been wanting. Make a super simple goal that you will meet. This is where you'll have those wins and it'll help build motivation and momentum to keep you going. So those are my five. I encourage you to pick one of these strategies to try now. And I mean now, if you don't do something with this info today, you will likely not move forward on any of this and you will be no closer to your goal. And then if one doesn't work, try another. Be open to having to shift because you change, circumstances change. So your approach may need to change too. What I do ask is that you never give up because this is the only time that you fail. Thank you for being right here with me as we understand ourselves a little more deeply and optimize each step to live the best life. If this still seems overwhelming, please reach out. I would love to support you more. If you liked this, please follow me, share with someone that needs to hear this today, save it, journal on it. Feel free to comment on other ideas you have. We are here for each other. Until next time.